All right, as per requested, some people were asking for some updated loadouts for the new season of the finals. Because we did get some new gadgets, we got some new weapons, and in general, things have been kind of shifting within the meta, especially with some of the balance changes. So a lot of people were wondering, well, what should I be using now in this season? So I have decided to bring you guys an updated loadout video. I'm going to be doing each class. We're going to be starting with light, as this was the most requested that I saw in comments, especially on my Twitch. And before we get into it, I want to just mention that I'm going to be start doing some coaching and VOD reviewing this season. If you're interested, go over to my Discord. Link will be in the description below. There is a section for VOD review and coaching. You guys can submit your VODs there to basically just have it be a free coaching session, whether it's on my stream or it is on a YouTube video. I will be messaging the people before I review them and let them know kind of ahead of time. If you're unable to make it, obviously you can just watch the VOD on Twitch, and I will end up uploading anything that I think is interesting me enough to go onto a YouTube video. If you're interested in getting coached, but you don't really want to have it be a public video, you can always just DM me and we can discuss something. There will be a fee and it will kind of vary based on the situation. But anyway, let's get into some of the loadouts. Now, the first I'm going to be covering is what I would consider the meta light loadout for this season. And there's a few variations that I think are definitely viable and really practical when it comes to the meta. Lights this season are actually a lot stronger. I would say that we are finally in an HML meta, so lights are definitely a pick. If you've been having light on the back burner because you want to play medium or heavy, simply because you felt it was meta, you can feel free to pick up light again and start shining with that. So let's get into the first loadout, which is a cloak loadout. Now, the variant that I use is LH1, Gravity Vortex, Gateway, and Glitch Grenade. Glitch grenades are extremely essential now that we are seeing a lot more heavies in the meta, especially heavies with mesh. Not only that, but it can still stop a lot of mediums from healing, dematting, rezzing, and all that fun stuff that you obviously don't want the enemies to be doing. Gateway has just been like an essential pick on the class for an extremely long time, so it's no surprise that we're seeing Gateway, and we're going to be seeing Gateway on every loadout. And Gravity Vortex is what I've been using a lot. Now, this is a very complex gadget to use, but I find its ability to stall is extremely good, and I use this a lot in combination with a Winch Heavy. So the Winch Heavy will basically pull cash outs into the open. You place Gravity Vortex sort of around it, either it's on it or just slightly off it, somewhere where the enemies won't be seeing it so easily. And then you just activate that as they start to steal. It's going to whip it and it will interrupt their steal. So the Gravity Vortex is a very good pick for stalling, but it is sort of situational, map dependent, and loadout dependent. So you can always pick up the frag grenade and throw that into that slot instead. I think the frag glitch gateway with LH1 and cloak is a really good combo because you can just sit pretty far back and just snipe people. Thermal vision is essential to have in your reserves. If you're ever facing another light that's using cloak, I would 100% be picking up thermal vision and try to counter that light. Make sure that you are the one to see them first, spot them first, kill them first. Because if you can kill their light, then you have essentially won that fight for your team. Stun gun is in the reserve if you feel a little bit more comfortable, but the main reason is because there's an alternative, which is the XP stun gateway glitch, which has been the meta kind of loadout for as long as time has been here for the light class. So now that the XP has got a little bit of a buff, I find it's a pretty viable pick. The LH1 is definitely the meta pick for the class, but the XP is a good alternative if you're not really enjoying the LH. It has pretty similar TTKs and it still has some pretty good range, so I really like using it. And it combos quite well with the stun gun. Basically, you just want to make sure that you're stopping steals, interrupting plugs, and being able to sit cloaked, and then you just stun somebody right as they come up to you, and then just blast them with the XP is obviously a very, very strong strategy. So give this one a try if you're looking to be a little bit more of a meta light. Now, on to the dash loadout. And again, this is kind of my version of it, but let me explain it a little bit. So the recurve bow, frag, gateway, glitch has been my kind of go-to bow loadout since season 3 when we got the recurve bow. And I just love the combination of basically just throwing your frag, then you swap to glitch, throw glitch, go back to frag, throw frag, swap again. You basically unload all 4 grenades before entering a fight. The damage, the glitch effect is going to be extremely massive. It's going to open up so much for your team. And then sometimes it might just take 1 arrow to kill somebody, or maybe 2 now that you've chipped them a little bit with the frag grenade. This is a kind of simple entry, just throw everything, and then you just rush in and try to finish off the kills with the dash. So it allows you to use bow in a very simple way. So I'm a big fan of this. Now in the reserves, we have the XP. I find that XP, again, has just been really solid for me this season, so I have it in rotation a lot. So I use this if I just feel like the bow isn't hidden quite well, especially if I'm facing a lot of mediums. I'm not a big fan of using recurve bow when it's like a triple medium team or like a double medium heavy team. But recurve bow is actually very strong against lights because it can one-shot to the head, or if you land a body shot, then you can just quick melee a light. So the recurve bow is actually pretty solid in those HML compositions. And frag grenade glitch is just good entry. Gateway is kind of obvious. Now we have in the reserves the stun gun. Again, you can swap to the XP and stun if you would prefer. So similar to the cloak variant, but instead we just have dash. And we have the gravity vortex and the thermal vision. Again, thermal vision is just there to counter all of the lights that you might be seeing. Gravity vortex is the alternative for when you're using winch on your heavy. This is really good on like maps like Kyoto, because Kyoto doesn't have a lot of situations where you can drop using like, you know, breach or C4 or even DMAT. There's not a lot of situations where you're going to be under the cash out ready to drop it. So instead, it's better to just winch it out into the open and then use gravity vortex to stall. Now, this can also be used with an LH1 or your preference. Even M11 is a pretty solid choice when using dash. But again, a lot of these gadgets are going to be pretty damn similar, but we do have one that is a little bit different. So on to the next, we have the grappling hook loadout. Now, within a meta that's all about plugging, obviously the grappling hook has been shining quite well. So here we have the XP54, which I found to be one of the better options because you can sit further back. Since you don't have cloak or dash, it does make it a little bit harder to play those really close ranges with the grappling hook, but we do have some solutions for that and we'll get to that in a bit. But I find the XP is pretty solid for sitting at that further range, but also while you're flying through the air, you still have pretty good in-air accuracy. So the XP is really solid for that. The M11 is also a pretty solid choice, but I just like playing a little bit further back with this, especially since my strategy is basically just grapple hook and just grab the vault and just get out of there, plug it as fast as you can, and then sit back and snipe at people who are approaching you. Then we have the frag grenade, which is obviously a very solid option for just throwing at range, getting some chip damage, or if you're getting chased, just kind of dropping it at your feet. Gateway, again, pretty obvious, good for plugging, good for everything. The gateway is essential on the light class. And next we have the goo grenade. So if you guys know Neon Guts, he basically uses gateway goo and frag grenade on a lot of his classes, and it always has the grappling hook. So this is basically a variation of that, but realistically the combo does make a lot of sense. The goo grenade here is extremely good for creating cover for your team, but it combos the best with grappling hook. You can place goo off of the side of buildings and just sit way far back below the map on a goo ledge and just wait. Then once you need to go back up, you just grappling hook all the way back up. You can also do the reverse of throwing a goo grenade way up on the side of a wall and then grappling hook on it so that you have a ledge to sit on and basically just snipe from. So when you are playing those sort of like sniping angles and farther back, the LH1 is a pretty good reserve option here. Now it does have pretty bad in-air accuracy, so the LH1 might not always be the best choice, but it is the meta weapon of this season, so obviously it is very good to have in the reserve. If you ever need to just whip out that meta weapon, if the XP isn't working for you, then you've got that option right there. And in reserves, we have the glitch grenade for obvious reasons. If we need to deal with a lot of heavies, then you could swap out the frag grenade for glitch. Got thermal vision again if you need to deal with a lot of the lights. And stun gun is an alternative if you're just not really feeling the frag grenade or the goo grenade. Now, goo grenade is a pretty complex gadget. It's definitely not very user-friendly. It takes quite a while until you fully get the hang of it. It is extremely good in the right hands, but it's just not the easiest to pick up and start doing well with. So stun gun is obviously a very easy choice to just sort of bring in if you don't want to use the goo grenade. Having the goo, the frag, and the XP with gateway is a very solid choice. Get around the map fast, have some good range damage with the frag and the XP, and stun if you ever need to just quickly stun, grapple out of there, or grapple to somebody, stun them, and then run away and set up for your team. Whatever you want to do, you got the options there. Now, these loadouts aren't really too different from a lot of the other seasons, but we do see that there are some new things that are kind of being brought back in, like the XP. I feel like finally has a bit of a better place in the meta. Now, the M11 is pretty solid as well, but for my playstyle, I do like sitting a little bit further back. And I find when it comes to ranked, it is really important to be able to survive. So playing further back as a light is essential. You do not want to be the first dead, and if you are the first one to die, you're basically just throwing the fights for your team. So sitting further back just allows you that opportunity to survive a little bit longer, which is key to playing the class correctly. The gravity vortex, the more that high elo players have been using it, the more use cases we've been finding for it. It's honestly an extremely useful gadget for stalling. And like I said, in the right team comp and the right situations, it is a very, very solid choice. So do not sleep on this. I want to say thank you to all my members. If you haven't already, there is a very cheap option for only $1 if you guys want to support me monthly. And as I said before in another video, my members will be the first chosen for any VOD reviews. So if you are itching to get a VOD review, that would be a way to kind of bump your name up in the list. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing a couple more of these Loadout videos, and then hopefully we'll be getting into some coaching videos. We're getting really close to hitting the VOD review goal on the subathon on Twitch. So if you're not already watching on Twitch, feel free to stop by. Every subscription gets us closer to the goals. Now go out and have fun in ranked in the new season of the finals. Pick light and actually be useful for once. The first season, eh? I will see you in the finals.